Hopi Indians believe that we presently live in the fourth, moving into the fifth world, and that although each world was destroyed by fire, ice, floods, the last one being a flood, the real cause of the balance being lost and the world being destroyed is greed. Now Hanta, my friend here, he could be greedy at times. He could be greedy for food and fight for it, because it's so wired into his survival and to his instincts. So I didn't know he was going to walk in here at that moment, but that certainly brings up the question of why over and over and over again does each world, countries, tribes, people, why is it greed that seems to be such a root cause? Is it in fact wired into our animal instincts to think about our own preservation? But perhaps the mistake happens that we perceive something as being part of our preservation, when in fact it isn't. And what causes that blindness? What causes us to behave in harmful ways to get what we think we need, which can be power, money, love, land, anything whatsoever that we want? Anything that you want can be connected to greed. And it seems that greed is run by this core little teeny place inside of us called fear. Somehow or another, if we don't have that power, if you're more powerful than I am, I don't feel safe. I don't feel like I can control my world. So we see today, even our politicians who are elected to represent us, they become greedy for votes. So they behave in ways that will assure them of enough votes for the next election, rather than doing what is right. And as I sit here right now, just sort of think about what you think you need, what you dream about, what you think about, and do you really need it? When we get what we want, what is that going to provide us with? What's it going to make us feel? It seems that the true answer to world peace, this transformation of humanity along higher spiritual values, all relates to this one word, greed. On the one hand, we in the United States want more jobs because all those jobs have been sent over to China where they manufacture everything that we buy. But on the other hand, those of us who are jobless and want those jobs brought back here go out and look for the cheapest thing that's always made in China when we're going to buy anything. So in a way, even though we're complaining about the greed of our corporations that have all moved over there, the greed of the Chinese government, which is actually power and money, when we go out and buy the cheapest thing, in a way, yes, it's true that we don't have enough money. But it's our own form of greed as well. So you can't point your finger at everybody else for being greedy. You have to find a way to function in the world where when you are taking an action, you are considering the consequences of that action, and that first of all it's harmless, and is it for not only your own good but the good of others. So a lot of Native American tribes never had a word for I or me. It was we. So the mental set really was, we need this, we want this. However, the problem with that is also that we can become a we that wants something from that we, and we want this land, and I want this and that, and I'm going to take it. So we're back to greed. So it really doesn't matter. Tribes, countries, world organizations that would battle against each other. It's this want inside of us, driven by fear. So what's the way out of it? How does the world change? Because if you look at it now, as much as there are more people awake, the forces that rule and run the world function more and more and more from this greed. And our country no less than any other. So it's kind of back to this sense of the circle. That when you are this circle, you are everything in a sense. In other words, when you live in the center of the circle of who you are, other people in a way are part of you. You see yourself in everyone. You come from not a place of all these spins and hungers and needs and wants, but you come from a place of balance, of being that love of the circle, of being that presence, and that's the most important thing, and that's what you keep putting into the world. That's how you behave. How do you behave? That's the most important thing. I don't care what religion, it's how you behave. And the essence of that circle is compassion. Compassion first for all your hungry ghosts that hunger and have a fear of that hunger for power, love, money, land that creates greed. So if you can be loving to that in yourself and be free from it owning and controlling you, then that's the behavior that you bring into the world. And that if everybody just took that responsibility for themselves and they worried less about what everybody else was doing, I mean everybody almost would have to do it, the world would change. But remember, each world gets destroyed because of man's greed. You can't worry about it. You can't think about it. It's a waste of energy and a cultivation of your own fear. So even if you look at the world and the sad state that it's in, just concentrate on your own circle of you. On you living in that balance and harmony. On you of being that medicine of one to yourself first, and that all that you encounter. And keep your mind on that. And don't worry about the other world, because when you project the greed onto others, you then avoid it within yourself. So be loving to what may be selfish inside of you. Don't hate it. Don't hate it when you think of yourself only or yourself first. It's fear. It's just fear. So notice all the little places of your own fear where you're afraid you're not going to get what you want. Even in a relationship between two people, the drama and the conflict happens when each one of them wants something from the other one and they're not getting it. And then they blame the other one for not giving it to them. So they place the responsibility on the other person for how they feel, rather than being responsible for their own hungry ghost and what they need. And that the other person is just the occurrence or event or what is there that arouses their greed. So bring your greed into the circle. Don't hate it. Don't think a lot about it. Just touch it. Touch it softly. As if opening up all these things all the way down into the very core. Because it's really back to that, I want to be loved. I want to be safe.